And welcome to the Montana Sportscast podcast. This is Bob Ridderott. Got Rocky Erickson with us today. We're going to talk our introductory podcast on high school sports. How you doing, Rocky?
Doing good, Bob. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. You too. And once again, thanks for buying coffee yesterday. You said you were going to buy me lunch someday. That doesn't count, does
You're the one that wanted to meet at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not lunchtime.
it? Yeah. Well, Rocky, let's just kind of talk about the power polls from MTN Sports and 406 Sports here in Montana. We'll start with the Double A boys. MTN has Helena Capital, Billings West, Billings Skyview, Missoula Hellgate, and Helena. And 406 has Billings West, Helena Capital, Missoula Hellgate, Billings Skyview, and Bozeman.
The West High boys did not make the state tournament last year, which was extremely rare. Only the second time in like 27 years they haven't made it to state. They've got Cooper Tyson, who's one of only two West High players to ever start as a freshman. He's a sophomore now. I announce a lot of West High basketball, Bob. I don't think they're the top ranked team in the state.
I'm kind of going to have to favor Helena Capital yet. They're the defending state champion, Rocky. Both polls have them. The MTNs have them at number one, 406 at number two. Billings Skyview and Bozeman are also in both of those polls in the top five. What do you think of those two?
Well, I'll get to see the Bozeman West game. I'm announcing that game on Friday at the West High Golden Dome, and that'll be interesting. West High always plays extremely well at home. They've won around 90% of their home games since 2000. And if you take Bozeman and Belgrade are both not bad. And look what they did in football this year too. They made it to the semifinals.
Right.
I think if Bozeman had just one AA school right now, I mean, it would be again like they were in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like the old Kalispell days.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I kind of have to stick with Helena Capital as the number one team in the state. And after that, I just haven't seen enough, results at this point. There were some games canceled there before Christmas, so I'm just going to.
West High has played two games. They've only played two games all year, which is really sad. And the freshmen and sophomore have not played a game yet until tomorrow night.
Wow. Well, let's jump over to Class A on the MTN Sports Power Poll. They have Lewistown number one, Frenchtown, Butte Central, Hamilton, and Billings Central. All five of those teams in the state tournament last year, Rocky. The 406 Sports, they have Lewistown, Hamilton, Frenchtown, Butte Central, and Billings Central. Billings Central not making the state tournament last year. I don't remember the last time that happened. You probably do.
Northrup's a great player. Sturgard's a really good coach. Billings Central top five, probably not. Lewistown with Royce Robinson and All Nation Fisher Brown, no question they're number one. They'd be in the top five in AA. The number two team in Class A, I think, is Butte Central and Dougie Peoples. And Bob Ridderott, I will bet you lunch that it's Lewistown and Butte Central in the state championship game in Class A this year. Think of the way Lewistown started the season. Their very first game this year, they played Butte Central, a rematch of the state championship on the road. They won that game. Their second game on the road against Dillon. Their third game of the season was Billings Central. I mean, what an incredible way to start the season. They won all three.
Yeah, they are 3-0. Yeah, I agree with you. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to see a rematch there in Class A and boys. And if it's half as exciting as the one last year, we're in for a treat, that's for sure.
Dougie Peoples at the buzzer, a shot that'll never be forgotten.
I am going to make a highlight of that. I think I've got it on file someplace. I got to get it up. That's going to be something I'm going to use. Jump to Class B, Rocky. MTN, they have Missoula Loyola, number 1, Red Lodge, Wolf Point, Big Fork, Anaconda, and 406 has Loyola, Huntley Project, Big Fork, Red Lodge, Fairfield.
Well, you know where I went to high school at,
I
Bob? Wolf
know,
Point.
I know.
Wolf Point
Yep.
Wolves, top 3. Loyola's got to be probably the smallest Class B school. That's exciting to see them up there. And come on, when's the last time Red Lodge was ranked in the top 5?
Wow. Well, we're going to get more on that here in a little bit. But yeah, I was surprised with that. Just interesting. I definitely think Loyola is probably the number 1 team in Class B. They were at the state tournament last year as well. Or no, excuse me. Yeah. Yes, they were. I think I got my marks right here on my paper, Rocky. You correct me if I'm wrong. Big Fork was Red Lodge at the state tournament last year.
I can check in 3 seconds. Hold on.
I got them down as I got them marked as being in the state tournament. I got a bracket over here as well. I made all these marks on this paper a few days ago.
Class B state last year, Three Forks, Malta, Big Fork, Manhattan, Lodgegrass, Shelby, Harlem, and Eureka.
Yeah.
Three Forks went 23-5 and won it all. So Red Lodge was not in the state tournament a year ago.
So I kind of, Big Fork, you kind of got to look at them being kind of back in there as well, I think. Let's jump to Class C. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Both polls have Buster Christian at number 1. Both polls have Harlowton, Rygate, Judith Gap at number 2. MTN has Belt number 3. Big Sandy number 4. Manhattan Christian number 5. And 406 has Centerville at number 3. Big Sandy and West Yellowstone.
I love Luster. I grew up near Luster Christian Academy, which is located in the middle of nowhere near the Canadian border. Went to Luster Beacon Bible Camp every year growing up. Played on the Luster tartan floor. And they've never been to a state tournament. They've never been ranked number 1 until recently. So for Luster to be doing as well as they are, I love it, and I would love to see them in their first ever state tournament at Metro Park, and I would leave Bob Ritterott in my will if he allowed me to announce those games.
One thing that kind of stands out to me with the Class C, Rocky, not one of those teams in the top 5 in either poll were in the state tournament last year.
Well, you know what? Last year at state, Manhattan Christian went 27-0. They had an incredible defense last year. And last year's State C, Bob, was the lowest scoring state tournament ever. Teams averaged just 44 points a game at state a year ago. And this is Class C, which is supposed to be a little bit more wide open.
Yeah.
And, not as much defense as we see in A and AA, but it was defense that won. Manhattan Christian at state last year, they had a margin of victory of 28 points a game. It's amazing. They held teams to 36, Fairview in round 1, and then 23 for Broadus in the semis. And they beat Floyd Lake 55-35. Now, that is a dominant defense, and that's what won that state championship for Manhattan Christian a year ago.
Yeah, and that championship game, that 20-point margin over a very, very talented Floyd Lake team. All right. Are we ready to jump into the girls?
One more note on Class C.
Okay.
A year ago, Tiny Millstone And I've been to Millstone several times as a graduation speaker and athletic banquet speaker. Millstone does not co-op in basketball. They're just too far away from anybody. They only had 31 high school students last year. And both the Millstone boys and girls program qualified for the state tournament. That is incredible.
Yeah. That's where I went to high school, Rocky. That's why they're so good.
You went to Millstone?
Yep, I graduated from Millstone.
I've never seen the Bob Ritterott statue outside of Millstone. I believe that.
Yeah.
They're probably. I'm going to go to Millstone when they erect the Brody Grebe statue. I'll be the speaker that day.
Okay, you do that.
Or Sage Newman, whatever comes first.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. So let's jump into the AA girls. We got MTN Sports. They got Capital at number 1, Bozeman Gallatin, Skyview, Flathead, and Sentinel. In the 406, they got Capital number 1, defending state champion Skyview at number 2, Gallatin at 3, Helena at 4, and Flathead at 5.
Well, Skyview returns the state's number 1 player. Yep. And at divisional a year ago, I gave Brianna Williams her new nickname. She's now all-world. All-world Brianna Williams. She scored 25 points in a state championship game a year ago as Skyview won their first ever state championship. She's back this year as a senior. Bob, first game this year. Brianna sends me a text to show me a list of the Division I coaches who were at game number 1. I mean, Gonzaga, Montana State, Montana, Oklahoma, Nebraska. It was unbelievable, that particular list. And, Bob, she can dunk a volleyball right now, and she's really close to being able to dunk a basketball. Just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah. No, she is definitely a talent, and I agree. She is probably undoubtedly the best player in the state. Class A, 406.
You know, I got to tell you about Class A. I mean, what Havre and Billings Central have done the last few years is just phenomenal. I mean, what a rivalry.
Yep. Very. I mean, it's almost like who's playing for third, Rocky.
Exactly.
To be honest with you, that's just the way it is. But 406, they have Central at number 1, Hardin, Dillon, Browning, and Laurel. And MTN has Central number 1, Dillon, Laurel, Browning, and Hardin. So basically the same 5 teams, a little bit of different order there. And we talk a little bit about Havre. You bring them up. They've kind of had a rough go to start this thing this year.
And, they've won 4 of their last 5 state championships. But when you lose a Sadie Phileas, who's now at Carroll College, I mean, that is a huge, huge loss. I've done one Billings Central girls game this year. I like Billings Central girls, despite the fact they lose Maya Hansen, who has started every game as a true freshman at Boise State. She went off for 31 against BYU the other day. I'm a bit disappointed. She has missed 2 free throws out of 36 on the year, however. But Central is a very young team. Jet told me, Chetan Ailes, the head coach, she said, Rocky, our average age in our program is less than 16 years old.
Wow.
So a very, very young team, but Central, the tradition they have, it's there again this year. They're going to be fine.
All right, for Class B, 406, in this order, Big Fork, Big Timber, Huntley Project, Malta, Red Lodge.
Red Lodge again.
Red Lodge again.
Basketball powerhouse, Red Lodge.
The MTN Sports for Class B is Big Fork, Huntley, Big Timber, Red Lodge, and Thompson Falls.
A year ago, Colstrip went 25-1. They won their first state championship since 1999. That was at Alterowitz Gymnasium on the campus of MSU Billings, and I announced that game.
Don't tell your age. Don't tell your age.
I know.
Because I'm going to have to tell everybody that you're younger than I am. So let's
Last
jump
year,
to class. What? Go ahead, Rocky.
go ahead, boss.
Nope. Jump to Class C for 406. We got Saco Whitewater Hinsdale, Roy Winifred, the defending state champions, number 2, Plentywood, Circle, Manhattan Christian. And in the MTN Sports, it's Saco Whitewater Hinsdale, number 1, Manhattan Christian, Roy Winifred, Twin Bridges, and Chinook.
Now,
Saco Whitewater Hinsdale's probably pretty good.
Yeah, and I am not related to Coach Erickson or her daughters, but when people ask me if I am, I do lie and I say I am. But they're a phenomenal, they're a powerhouse. There's no question about that. They're going to be at that state tournament at Metra.
Yes. Yeah, they this is probably the only team out of all these polls that I can see them going number 1 from start to finish, Rocky.
Yeah. Well, you know who else is going to be there for the first time ever? And, when you talk high school basketball this year, Bob, one of the biggest stories other than the shot clock is what took place at West High before game number 1 this year, the night before game number 1, when the famed Cherrick sisters transferred from the state's largest high school, West High, 2,400 students, to Roberts, school enrollment of 46. And Taylor Cherrick, who's one of the top athletes in the state, she won 3 gold, 5 medals at state track. She placed in the top 10 in cross country. And you take one of the top 10 players in the state and put her on a small Class C team, what's going to happen? Well, without her this year, they were 2-1, and they averaged 45 points a game. With her and her sister, TJ, they're 4-0. They set a school record, 91 points. They're averaging over 70, and Taylor Cherrick is averaging 26 points a game. Now, the Roberts girls have never been to the state tournament. They will be at state this year. No question about it with the Cherrick girls. And Taylor, one of my all-time favorite basketball players. And, in Class C, Bob, it doesn't take a lot of athletes or a lot of points to win the state track meet. Taylor Cherrick single-handedly may win the Class C state track meet for Roberts.
Yeah, I agree that she could very well do that in track. Yep.
Now, I got to tell you what happened. The West High girls, the first 2 games, without Taylor, they had over 60 combined turnovers in those first 2 games. West High girls are going to be fine, but, boy, you lose an incredible point guard like her, and it makes a big difference.
Yep. Yeah, it one player makes a big difference, but it still takes that whole team to win. That's the best part about it. So, Rocky, you got thoughts overall on the polls? I threw mine out there, saying that I think Saco Whitewater Hinsdale on the girls will be the only one going number 1 from poll to poll. I honestly think that. I think they're that good. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I love this time of year. It's unfortunate, all the games that were canceled the last couple of weeks. And what's sad, Bob, some of those games, it's going to be difficult to reschedule because of the shortage of officials and just a shortage of the time frame we have left in the regular season.
Yeah, it's they have to jam games in before Christmas to make everything work. Yeah. Basically after Christmas, and you're right, it's gonna be tight for some of those.
We got to talk before we go. Okay. Girls basketball. Today is Mandy Morales' birthday.
Oh, okay.
Mandy Morales played 1 year at Huntley, 3 years at West High, led them to 2 state championships. And with the Lady Grizz, she was the second all-time leading scorer in school history behind Shannon Kate. Mandy Morales is in her 2nd season with the Huntley girls, And they have a margin of victory this year of 54 points a game. They're 6-0, and they've got one of the state's best players in Paige Loffing, 5'9" sophomore. Now, she scored over 500 points last year as a freshman. She leads the state this year, boys or girls, averaging 31 points a game. I've seen Huntley play this year. They are very, very talented. They will get to the state tournament. And if you haven't seen Paige play, you need to see Paige Loffing play. She's a big deal.
All right. I will make an attempt to do that.
I love girls basketball. No question about it.
All right. Well, Rocky, I think we'll wrap this one up. And one thing we are going to do is we're going to do your story of the day at the end of each one of these high school broadcasts. As long as you'll send them to me, we'll get those put up there. And I want to thank you for helping us out with this and getting this high school thing started. I think it's going to be a great thing for our public to learn about some of these athletes that never get heard about across the state of Montana.
Sounds great, Bob. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rocky.
It was 1918. A doctor told boxer Billy Miskey he only had 5 years to live. Not good news when you're only 24. He would keep his kidney news to himself and decided to continue boxing. In the fall of 23, Billy was fading fast. He was too weak to work out, but Christmas was coming up soon. He decided he would fight one last time. Now, Billy never did get near the gym to train for his final fight. He was just too weak. His opponent was Bill Brennan. Brennan was no pushover. He'd lasted 12 rounds with Jack Dempsey. On November 7th, Billy turned up in Omaha for the fight, and believe it or not, he survived 4 rounds and cashed a check for $2,400. That check would buy the best Christmas the Miskey family ever had. The next morning, Billy called his manager and said, "Come get me. I'm dying." On New Year's Day, Billy died at the age of 29. By the way, if you ever pass through Omaha and run into an old-timer, ask him about the prize fight that day. The one that gave Billy Miskey the finish he wanted. The one he won in 4 rounds by a knockout.
And welcome back here as we wrap this first high school podcast up. Once again, I want to thank Rocky Erickson for joining me. Our plan on these high school podcasts are we will have different people from around the state on here each day. We hope to hold the podcast to about between 15 and 20 minutes. And we'll let these different people talk about what they see and how they feel about high school basketball. We'll also have some referees on here as well, trying to explain the shot clock and some of the point of emphasis for the basketball season. Going to talk with some wrestling people. We'll get them on there as well. So hope you enjoy this podcast. We will continue to have one a day as once we get started. And starting Monday, we hope to be going full force. But until then, stay safe, stay warm, and be positive for your high school athletes across the state.